Happy Saturday, everyone. I'm so excited to be with you today on this Saturday, August the 1st. And I am kicking off my Cybersecurity Talks episode. My name is Dr. Christina Asare, and I'm so excited that I'm able to officially kick off the cybersecurity talks. This is something that I've mentioned for quite some time. So I hope that you enjoy today's episode. We're going to be talking about the expanding attack surface, cloud, and IoT risk that you cannot ignore. Make sure you share this episode with someone. Follow our YouTube channel, s- subscribe to the YouTube channel, and just share. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. Again, as I was saying, this is the first episode of Cybersecurity Talks. I'm Dr. Christina Asare. I'm a Chief Program Strategy Officer at Global One Consulting. I'm also one of the board members of Titanium CyberForce. So, welcome everyone. So, I want to open this series where every security conversation should start. And that's what the fundamentals, the breaches that make headlines are rarely the most sophisticated ones. They are almost always something that gets overlooked. I didn't say always, but almost always the breaches that get overlooked. So, again, my name is Dr. Christina Asare, and I have my PMP certification, Security Plus certification. I'm working through my CISO certification. I have a graduate certificate in security studies, and I have over 14 years of experience building enterprise programs across healthcare, federal defense, utilities, and SaaS. But enough about me. We'll have some more time to talk about me. So, today's focus, I want to talk about risk. I'm speaking from what I've seen firsthand inside organizations, not simply from a report. So today's topic is the expanding attack surface, specifically cloud and IoT risk. It may not be the most attention grabbing subject, but it is one of the most important conversations that we can have. So here's the question I want you to keep in mind for the next 30 minutes. Do you know the full size and shape of your own attack surface right now in the organization that you are working for? Not based on a report that was accurate 18 months ago and has been sitting untouched since. So, this is a question I want you to really think about as we're going through today's episode. So, today's agenda, we're going to talk about why are we talking about this right now? The numbers that matter, the cloud side, the IoT side, questions for your team, and the next steps. So, why? Why this topic right now? Let's begin with scale because the true size of this issue is difficult to grasp until you hear the number itself. 21.1 billion. Yes. Nearly every organization today operates on some combination of cloud infrastructure and connected devices, whether that is badge readers, security cameras, smart building systems, medical devices, industry sensors, or the laptops and routers most people assume are already accounted for. 21.1 billion is the number. That is the number of connected IoT devices active worldwide, according to the IoT analytic states of IoT reports. So this is real data that I'm presenting to you, real statistics. So let's talk about widening the gap. The number is projected to reach 39 billion by 2030. Few leaders, even those focused on security, hold that scale in mind when planning budgets or staffing for the next year. So here's what should command your attention. The scale continues to climb year after year, device by device. And most organizations, security budgets and staffing do not grow at anywhere close to that same rate. The result is a widening gap between the size of your attack surface and your team's capacity to be able to defend it. This gap affects nearly every organization, not only those with limited resources. I have seen it in Fortune 500 environments, and I've also seen it in smaller companies. And the pattern is similar across the board, despite the industry. So, this is not just an IT problem. It's not simply an IT issue confined to the IT department. When your attack surface includes medical devices, industrial control systems, and building access systems, it becomes a matter of patient safety, public safety, and physical operations. A compromised medical device is not just a compliance concern, it is a person's safety that is also involved. Before we go even further, take a honest inventory in your own mind. Do you know right now roughly how many connected devices sit on your network? Most leaders I ask this question do not have a confident answer, and that uncertainty in itself is a problem that can be solved. So, although it's a problem, we can solve it. I want to walk you through four numbers. I selected these deliberately because each one should change how you think about where to direct your attention and your budget. Each of these deserve consideration rather than just a quick mention about it. 75% plus. The first number is 75% or more. This is the share of all IoT attack incidents that target routers, specifically not smart TVs or fitness trackers, but routers. 75% plus. If you're deciding where to focus limited time and budget, routers and edge devices offer by a wide margin the highest return on investment. When did your organization last conduct a dedicated security review of its routers and edge devices rather than focusing solely on servers and endpoints? This is another question I want you to think about when you go back to your organizations on Monday. The second number is 98%. And this is the share of IoT device traffic that moves completely unencrypted. When I found these numbers, it was alarming. So this means nearly everything these devices communicate to each other and to your network, it is exposed by default. Anyone positioned correctly on that network can read it without breaking any encryption because none of it exists to begin with. The third number challenges an assumption that underlies many security programs. 70% of cloud breaches originate from compromised identities, not software, vulnerabilities and not a 0-day exploit that made headlines, compromised identities. If there's only one number you take away from today, this should be it. 277 days. The fourth number is 277 days. The average dwell time, meaning the average length of time a breach goes undetected within a environment before anyone notices. This is nearly 9 months. Consider what can happen in an environment unnoticed over that span of time. Data can be extracted gradually, systems can be mapped in full, and access can expand, all while everything appears normal on the surface. So let's bring these numbers together once more. 75% plus, 90% unencrypted traffic, 70% identity driven cloud breaches, 277 days average dwell time. These numbers should inform how you plan going forward. Let's turn to cloud risks specifically because I want to directly challenge a common assumption. Let's talk about the cloud side. Most organizations today run multi cloud or hybrid environments. The majority depend on two or more cloud providers for critical workloads, and a meaningful share rely on three or more simultaneously. So that sprawl, multiple providers, multiple configurations, teams managing different pieces with tools and standards is exactly where risk accumulates. The exposure comes not from a singular provider, but from the seams between them. Here is the assumption I want to challenge directly. Many of us assume that software vulnerabilities are the primary risk in cloud environments. An unpatched flaw or unresolved vendor issue, a 0-day waiting to be exploited. And because of that assumption, patch management and vendor vulnerability tracking receive the majority of attention and budget in many security programs. What the data consistently shows across industries and over time is that identity and misconfiguration cause the large majority of cloud security failures, not software flaws. Compromised credentials, overly broad permissions granted for a single project and never revoked, a storage bucket left unsecured because someone was moving quickly to meet a deadline, an account that still holds full access for a project that ended 18 months ago. This is where the exposure lives in everyday operational decisions that no one tends to revisit. So consider your own environment. Where does your team direct most of its cloud security effort? Towards patching and vendor advisories or towards reviewing who actually has access to what? An organization sets up a cloud environment for a project, grants broad access to move quickly. The project concludes, everyone shifts to the next priority, and that access is never revisited. Repeat this across dozens of projects over several years, and the result is an access map no one in the organization could accurately reconstruct from memory. Now let's turn to the IoT side, an area that receives the least attention in most security programs. Every connected device on your network is an entry point. A camera, a badge reader, a smart thermostat. an industrial sensor, a medical device on a hospital floor, a printer, a conference room display. Each one is a door into your network. And most of these doors were never built with meaningful protection because manufacturers prioritize getting devices to market quickly and inexpensively rather than securing them well. Security is rarely the selling point, speed and price are. So let's examine three specific issues. The first is default credentials. A significant share of consumer and enterprise IoT devices still ship with default logins, easily found in a manual or brief search, and those credentials are rarely changed after installation. A device works right out of the box, so no one returns to change the password, since doing so is not required for the device to function. The second issue is unencrypted traffic. 98% of IoT device traffic moves without encryption, meaning that the data these devices transmit, sensor reading, video feeds, access logs, badge scans, is exposed by default. And this is not the result of a sophisticated attack. The traffic was simply never protected in the first place, and anyone positioned correctly on that network segment can potentially view it. The third issue is router exposure. Routers and edge devices remain the single most targeted category of devices, and in my experience across organizations of every size, they are also the least monitored. Servers and endpoints receive close attention and alerting. The router in the back closet running since 2019 without a firmware update often does not receive attention. So, if you can address only one of these three issues this month, address default credentials first. It is the fastest to fix, requiring no new tooling, budget approval, vendor conversation, or procurement cycle. And it closes one of the most commonly exploited gaps immediately. Let's make this practical. I want to leave you with a set of questions I would genuinely ask if I walked into your organization tomorrow. Bring these to your next security or risk review, word for word if needed, and consider them yours to use. My first question is: do we have a complete current inventory of every connected device on our network? Not the inventory from the last audit, which may be a year old or more, but a current one as of today. If you cannot answer confidently, that is your starting point. Question two: which of our cloud providers still have accounts using default or shared credentials? Verify this directly rather than assuming the last review was thorough. Question three: how long would it take us to notice a breach that started from a misconfiguration rather than a sophisticated attack? Given the industry average dwell time of 277 days, this deserves a honest answer. My next question: who owns router and edge device security specifically? And when was it last reviewed? Not who owns the network security broadly, but who's responsible for the routers by name, and when did they last examine the routers? Here's what I want you to do, and I'm keeping this focus deliberately because a single task done well is more valuable than a long list that leads to inaction. This week, run one audit. Pull a complete list of every connected device on your network and a complete list of every cloud account with access to production data. This is for those who are allowed to. If you're a decision maker, if this is something you can bring up within the security organization, the security department, these are great discussion points. Then check both lists for one specific issue, such as default credentials. List every connected device. Pull a full inventory of every device on your network. List every connected device, as I mentioned, and then list every cloud account. Pull a full list of every cloud account with access to production data. Then I want you to check both lists for default credentials. This is the entire assignment. What you find in that audit is exactly where your next security investment should go. Not the newest tool being marketed to you this quarter, and not whatever your peer happens to be adopted. The specific gaps this audit reveals in your own environment are your actual security roadmap. If you find, if what you find is uncomfortable, that is a positive outcome. It's not a negative one. It means you are finally seeing the real picture rather than one you assumed to be true. And I'm going to close right now. I want to thank you for joining me for the first episode of Cybersecurity Talks. This was meant to be informative, but that as we continue to have these talks, we'll be bringing on people from different backgrounds who either work in security or are interested in working in security. But one thing I want you to realize, this may not have been the most attention grabbing topic for a launch episode, but I believe fundamentals like these are where the real risk lives for most organizations. I appreciated the time that you have taken to join me. I am Dr. Christina Asare. I'm a strategist, executor, builder, and thought leader. Strategy today, impact tomorrow, leading with intention. I bring together strategy, execution, and impact across Global One Consulting and my newsletter, Voice and Vision. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you. If this conversation was valuable, share a comment and let me know. Have you run a full device and account inventory in the last year? I will read every comment. If you say, well, this topic was dry, or maybe you didn't enjoy this topic, tell me why. But I thought this was a great way to start off the first episode, starting off with the very basics. So this has been fun for me. And this has been our Cybersecurity Talk, episode 1. Thank you for being here for the first one, and I will see you in the next episode. If you would like to be part of the episodes, you can reach out to me directly, make a comment below, and I will contact you, and we'll be able to schedule some time to talk about which episode you can be a part of. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time.